And welcome back again, 49ers fans, to part 3 of our what will end up being probably an 8-year retrospective and possibly 9 or 10 parts by the time I get done with it. This season's almost over, and obviously we're not going to the playoffs, so there'll be time to get this season looked at and see how we did in the fourth quarter in our red zone performance. But we'll get into 2019 right now. So as a start, Jimmy G played 16 games of 16. So no injuries that year for him, which was good because obviously in previous seasons he had been injured. Kind of funny, but Dante Pettis, our wide receiver, and Emmanuel Sanders, our wide receiver, both tried one pass and they both completed their pass, but Pettis' pass ended up in a negative 4 yard, and Sanders' pass ended up in a positive 22 yards. So Sanders definitely had better success there. Running backs were Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, Jeff Wilson, and our fullback, once again, was Kyle Juszczyk. Receiving core, Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, Kendrick Bourne, Marquise Goodwin, Dante Pettis, and Richie James were all our wide receivers, and George Kittle was our tight end. And George played 14 games that year. And he made it to the Pro Bowl. Yeah, he definitely did, and so did Juszczyk that year. So defense, we had Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw as linebackers. Had Jimmy Ward, Richard Sherman, Emmanuel Mosley, and Jaquiski Tart as our DBs and corners. And then on the front line, we had Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Nick Bosa. This would have been his first season. And DJ Jones. So pretty solid defensive unit for this year, and we'll see that within the scores. Nick Bosa made the Pro Bowl that year, and so did Richard Sherman. So pretty darn good. All right, so let's get into the spreadsheet here. Let me just bring it up. So 2019, and injury-wise, we can have a quick chat about that. I'll bring that up. Not a lot of significant injuries. There were a few guys that didn't play the year. Sean Coleman, Tim Harris, Jalen Hurd, Andrew Lauderdale, Jerick McKinnon, Sean Poindexter, and Kentavious Street was out for the majority of the season. He managed to come back for 2 games late in the season, but certainly nothing significant. So injuries didn't kill us this year like they have in some years past. All right, so week 1, Niners and Bucks. We win 23-17. Some really good results here. 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So definitely a much more fortuitous start, and we finish the week 1 up 1-0, and the Bucks go 0-1. You can see here I've added another couple columns. Just thought it'd be interesting to track what were field goals, what were rushing touchdowns, and what were passing touchdowns. So you'll see we got 3 field goals, no rushing, and 1 passing touchdowns. And that's how that one played out. Week 2, Niners and Bengals blew their doors off, 41-17. Really good result. Playing in Cincinnati. Managed to tie them up at least in the fourth. So they got a touchdown. We got a touchdown, but we had a touchdown in every quarter. So really, really good. Really good game. 2 field goals, 2 rushing TDs, 3 passing TDs. So nice balanced spread there. We finished that week up 2-0. Bengals fall 0-2. Week 3, Niners and Steelers. Same thing. Managed to score a touchdown at the end. Beat the Steelers. So that's 2 games in a row where we've been able to at least match the fourth quarter touchdown, which we weren't seeing in previous seasons. And we were down 6-3 going into the second half and scored 3 touchdowns. So really good result there. Final score is 24-20. Niners go 3-0. Steelers fall to 0-3. So probably getting the benefit of our poor result from the previous year in terms of schedule, and not quite a sellout. Didn't get up to that 71,000 mark that we're looking for the sellouts. But another kind of generally good spread. 1 field goal, 2 rushing TDs, 1 passing TD. So good result there. Week 5 we'll jump to. Browns and Niners. We managed to outscore them by the single field goal in the fourth quarter, but you can see there, another blowout, 31-3. Really good attendance. 1 field goal, 2 rushing TDs, 2 passing TDs. So again, it's a very different season to the 2 seasons beforehand, where you look at how we were getting outscored in the fourth, and this is these last 3 columns are adding a little bit more color to what's going on. Week 6, we win again, 27 over the Rams, playing in LA. We go 5-0. They fall to 3-3. 2 field goals, 2 rushing TDs, no passing TDs, but tied up going into the third, and we managed to score in both the final 2 quarters to take the win. So really good so far. A really early bye this year is kind of interesting. Week 7, Niners and what are we at? Niners and Washington. Not a high-scoring game. Managed to score 3 field goals all in the back half of the game, but shut out Washington. They weren't able to score anything, and that kind of highlights, you can see by a lot of these scores. In the first 2 games, it looks like the defense was, trying to get their legs under them, but they basically, in 3 games, they've only scored 10 points when we get down into week 5 to 7. So we get up to 6-0. Washington falls to 1-6, and as we mentioned, just the 3 field goals on that one. Week 8, Niners and Panthers. So really good scoring, really consistent all through every quarter. They can't score in the fourth. We blow the doors off the Panthers, 51-13, and they were actually having not too bad of a season. They were 4-3 by the time this one ended, so they went into it 3-3, and we went into it 6-0. And didn't get a sellout, as you can see, only 61,000 fans, but 1 field goal, 5 rushing TDs, and 2 passing TDs. So really hitting them on the ground hard. Really good result there. And we'll flow down into week 9. So week 9 was the first one where we're playing the Cardinals and we get outscored in the fourth. The Cardinals managed to score 11 in the fourth to try to catch up. We obviously had a pretty solid lead of 14 going into the fourth quarter, but pull out the win, move to 8-0, and the Cardinals fall to 3-5-1. So that 28-25 score, they were starting to catch up in the end, but a little too close for comfort, but definitely a good result for us. First game where we've been outscored in the fourth quarter, week 9, which in the previous weeks you saw that we had been outscored in 4 to 5 of the first 10 games. So having a much better season, and again, the defense doing a pretty darn good job, and it was all in passing touchdowns for that particular game. So week 10, Seahawks come play us. We have the home field, but we lose that one. So that 8-2 is incorrect. It should be 8-1. So we fall to 8-1. Seahawks go 8-1, and unfortunately that one went to overtime. Actually, in this one, the Seahawks were leading us going into the fourth, and we managed to come back and tie it up, and then they were able to kick the field goal in overtime. So 3 field goals, one touchdown passing. Doesn't look entirely correct, but we'll go with that for now. So final score, 27-24. Cardinals-Niners, week 11. We pull out the win here, 36-26, go to 9-1. Cardinals fall to 3-7-1, so we've played them now twice in 3 weeks. And you can see we scored 19 in the fourth. So we're having much more success this year, and there will be a bit of a theme as we go through the years where you'll see that in the years that we make it to the playoffs, we're much better in the fourth quarter than the non-playoff years. Pretty healthy spread, 1 field goal, no rushing TDs, and 4 passing touchdowns. I did double check some of these scores because they seem kind of odd when you're getting into some of these like 19 scores, and it's definitely, we're missing, we had some problems kicking this year. We were missing some extra points, and that's what's accounting for some of these odd box scores. But sell out 71,000 fans, and really good result for us to move to 9-1. Week 12, blow out the Packers. Nice spread again of scores. Packers only score 8 in the third quarter. We hold them off with no score in the fourth and move to 10-1. Pack goes to 8-3. And another sellout, 71,029 fans. 3 field goals, 2 TD rushing, 2 TD passing. So another nice spread. We're not seeing, 5 field goals and 1 touchdown or anything like that. We're able to punch it in pretty well, and we'll talk about that in the red zone stats at the end here. Week 13, Ravens and Niners. We go to play them at Baltimore. They manage to pull out the win. second game where they've been able to finally outscore us in the fourth, and that accounts for basically the win. Go into the fourth tied up, and the Ravens managed to get a field goal. Both teams moved to 10-2. So definitely the Ravens were having a good season. We're having a good season, but couldn't eke out the win on that one. One field goal, one TD rushing, one TD passing. So not a horrible game, but definitely close. Week 14, Niners and Saints. We go play them in New Orleans. And you can see here, this was a shootout. Both teams are having really good seasons. Final score is 48-46. We go to 11-2. They moved to 10-3. So we both came in 10-2. And really solid in the air on this one. 2 field goals, 1 TD rushing, 1 TD passing. 5 TDs passing. So really, really strong in the air in this particular game. So, at this point, we're pretty much going to make the playoffs. So that's good news for us. Week 15, the Falcons. Falcons beat us 29-22. They were only a 5-9 team, and we were 11-3, so not the greatest result. And we played at home and pretty close to a sellout, but not quite close enough. But they managed to get 19 in the fourth quarter, which is not ideal. We were still able to score 9, but we did have the lead going into that quarter, 13-10. So, starting to see a little bit more of that pattern in the back half of the season with 3 field goals, 1 touchdown rushing, 1 touchdown passing. Week 16, playing the Rams. We managed to pull out the win basically because of the fourth quarter. So if we hadn't scored 10 in the fourth quarter, we would have lost that one. So pretty darn good result, all things considered. Rams are 8-7 at this point. We're 12-3. Final score is 34-31. Not quite a sellout. 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns rushing, and 1 touchdown passing. And then we'll finish up the season with the Seahawks, so playing in Seattle. And we win this one. You can see we did get outscored in the fourth quarter for the fourth game, I believe that is, of the season, where we were outscored in the fourth. But you can see we went into the fourth quarter up 19-7, and they were able to score 2 touchdowns. And we still won, but got outscored there. So pretty good season all around, and I think some of the defense accounts for that. Jimmy G being healthy for the entire season accounts for that, and then you can see here I've added a little bit of detail. We finished first in the NFC West, which gives us the first week bye. So now getting into the playoffs, bye in the wild card. Divisional game, we win 27-10 over the Vikings. Moves us to 14-3. They go 11-7. Big sellout and really good scoring. Pretty even. It's only 14-10 going into the third quarter, and then we managed to get 13 in the back half of the game. So 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns rushing, 1 touchdown passing. So again, a nice even spread, similar to the Week 16 against the Rams. NFC Championship game against the Packers. I actually remember this one quite well. And, we were up 27-0 going into the third quarter and managed to pull out the win 37-20. They did manage to score 13 in the fourth quarter, which is not ideal. Those are the trends that we see in the playoffs. Is there's usually 2 out of 3 games where we're not able to pull out that outscoring position in that fourth quarter, but we moved to 15-3. They moved to 14-4, and again, really solid score. 3, nothing in the air in terms of touchdowns, but 3 field goals, 4 touchdowns rushing. So hammering them on the ground. And then we go to the Super Bowl, and this one's still, even though this was 2019, it's still pretty fresh. Niners and Chiefs going into the third quarter, tied up 10-10. We managed to go up by 10. So now we're up 20-10 going into the fourth quarter, and they score 3 touchdowns, 21 points in the fourth quarter to win the Super Bowl. And that one's still pretty raw. That was a really frustrating one to watch, because you really felt like, as you started to watch the team, and I remember this one too, as you started to watch the team in the fourth quarter, you had this distinct feeling it was slipping away with some of the way the play was happening. And, that's kind of the whole point of this series is, how much of this is play calling? Are we aggressive enough? How are we play calling in the fourth quarter to allow this type of result? So that one really stung. So we'll get down. So obviously we finished the regular season first in the NFC West. drastically outscored every team in all 4 quarters. So you can see there, Q1, 37 points outscoring them. Quarter 2, we just blew the doors off them, 60 points. Quarter 3, 28, and then quarter 4, 39. So in this one, quarter 4 was actually pretty good. It was our second best quarter, and the third quarter was a bit of a struggle. But and then just the one game we lost to Seattle where they scored that field goal. So point differential was 161 total points. So we had some huge games where we really scored a lot of touchdowns, and red zone performance was obviously a lot better. So 4 total games where we were outscored in the fourth. So certainly not ideal. Because as you'll see, once we get down here, there were 2 in the playoff games right here that right there where we were. So, out of 17 games, only 4 in the regular season. Out of 3 games, 2 in the playoffs. And total field goals for the year, 30. Total rushing touchdowns, 23. Total touchdown passes, 28. So really nice even spread there. I think that's a pretty good look at the year. Gives us a good sense of, we were able to do it both on the ground and in the air. But once we get down into the playoffs, you'll see here it was the fourth quarter that killed us. Keeping up with them in the first quarter. Quarter 2, we're outscoring them. Quarter 3, we're outscoring them. But you add that 21 points up, and we're only able to put 6 down in the fourth in all 3 games. So that's pretty rough when we're only scoring 2 field goals in the fourth quarter in 3 playoff games, and for a negative point differential of minus 28. So for the playoffs, we actually had a positive point differential of 23, which was, the first 2 wins that were pretty solid. The first 2 wins, we outscored them by 17 each game, but that Super Bowl was an absolute killer. So 7 field goals, 7 rushing touchdowns, 2 in the air. So not getting it done in the air once we hit the playoffs. And then red zone scoring percentage, we did much better this year. We didn't finish, in the bottom like last year. We were 20th at a 55.56 red zone percentage for touchdowns, 60.98 at home, 48.39 on the road. So struggling a lot more on the road than we were at home. And the worst team was Pittsburgh at 35%, which is a really rough. I mean, even we were better than that in the first 2 years where we were hovering closer to 40%. So Pittsburgh was last at 35, Jacksonville second to last at 40, Cincinnati third to last at 43.75. Then the top team was Tennessee at 77.36. 81% at home Tennessee was, so really solid, and they had moved up from 53 the year before. And then Green Bay was second at 67.86 and Tampa Bay at 64.86. So that 55 puts us kind of in the middle of the pack. Could be a little bit higher. And, can't finish out the season the way we need to. So that was a pretty rough year. I don't know if you remember that year. What are your memories of that year? Do you remember that Super Bowl? Did it feel like it was slipping away in that fourth quarter in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs? I know I definitely was on pins and needles, and boy, was not a happy camper after that game ended, I'll tell you. Just so frustrating to lose in that way. So let me know your thoughts. Hope you're enjoying the series, and we will pick this up again when we do season 2020, which should be out hopefully very soon. And if you're enjoying it, feel free to like and subscribe, and that way you'll get the notifications when I get all the seasons up and the summary up, and we'll see if I can keep going through the next year, and we'll track next year, as it'll definitely be an interesting one. One stat that I did note, and I'll see if I can find it here really quickly. So Jimmy G made a post on December 14th, 2023. In the 2019 season, Jimmy was, through 13 games, was 25 TDs, 11 interceptions, and Brock Purdy in 2023 was 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So very close. Jimmy had 4 more interceptions, and total yards for Jimmy G was 3,245 yards and 69% completion percentage. And then in 2023, Brock Purdy was 3,553 yards. So about a 300-yard differential. Brock 300 yards higher, and 1% higher on completion percentage. But our record was actually better in 2019. We finished through 13 games, we were 11-2, and 2023, Brock was 10-3. So very similar stats. The system seems to work for the quarterbacks if they play within the system. And you see that in the playoff years once we get into 2023, and look at the stats for Brock for that year. But I just thought that was interesting because they were almost 1-to-1 between Jimmy and Brock. So have a great day, and we'll see you again in the 2020 season.